Hi there everyone. So today we're going to look at the basics of the protocols involved when sending an email. So we're going to talk about three main protocols: SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, POP3, which stands for Post Office Protocol, and then IMAP, which is Internet Message Access Protocol, down there in the corner. So we're going to illustrate the usage of these protocols through an example here. So the example that we've got here is Tom, the little kitten here. He wants to send an email to Grumpy Graham down here. So Tom's mail client. So Tom's mail client here. Tom is using Outlook, and Grumpy Graham is using Gmail. So he's using Gmail. So you can see his Gmail server, his Gmail mail server's there, and Tom's Outlook mail server's here. So that's his mail server, and that's Graham's mail server there. So the first step, what happens is Tom's mail client, so the email client he's using, Outlook, contacts his own mail server using SMTP. So the first step can be said to be sending mail from client. So SMTP is used to send mail from the client to your own mail server. So SMTP is used to send. So SMTP has two purposes, as we can see here. It can send client to your own mail server, and then from the mail server, your mail server, to the recipient's mail server. So that's what's occurred here. So sending from Tom's mail client to his own mail server. That's the first step. The second step is now mail server. So the sending mail server to the recipient's mail server. So as you can see, the Outlook server now needs to forward that to the recipient's mail server, which is Grumpy Graham's Gmail server, and SMTP is used for that. Okay, and then the final step, third step, is that Grumpy Graham now needs to download the email from the Gmail server. So historically, you had to log in manually to the server to retrieve that email. But since the early 90s, we've now got protocols such as POP3 and IMAP to do that for us. So Post Office Protocol is a more simpler protocol. It's less advanced, so we're right there. It's a very simple protocol, and it's simple because the mail is deleted upon download. So if Grumpy Graham uses POP to download and fetch that email from the mail server, from the Gmail server, then what happens is the email from the Gmail server is deleted and is shifted onto his computer. So it can only be found on his computer afterwards. So if he goes to another PC or his smartphone to check for his emails, it won't be there because it won't be able to fetch that email because it's downloaded it onto his PC and it's deleted it from the server. So it's very simple, and therefore it requires less CPU and less memory. The server, that is. So the server requires less memory, obviously, because it's not storing the emails, and it runs on port 110. Always useful to know for the exams. Internet Message Access Protocol. So IMAP is more advanced. And that's because the mail remains stored on the server. So let's say Grumpy Graham is using IMAP to retrieve his mail client uses IMAP. What happens is the mail will remain on the server, and also he'll get a copy in his his client that he's using. So consequently, more CPU is used and more memory. And the port that is used is 143. So that's the third step, and the purpose of the protocols on the right are to retrieve emails from the mail server. Pardon my writing. So one final thing to note is that the protocols in green, well, SMTP is a push protocol. It's to send out. However, the orange protocols here, POP3 and IMAP, are pull protocols because they're pulling mail from the mail server. And that's essentially the super basics of how the protocols are involved in sending an email. Of course, there's a lot more detail to this, but a really super simplified version just to get your head around it. I hope that was beneficial, and if there are any questions, please do drop a comment. Thank you very much.